Welcome to Facts TV News, where everything is true. Advocacy Network joins No-Gag Clause call. The Advocacy Network is the latest entity to join the National Integrity Action (NIA), the Jamaica Accountability Measure Portal (JAMP), and the Integrity Commission (IC) in calling for the removal of the gag clause. In a release, the Advocacy Network said that at a time when public confidence in the actions of government officials is in all-time low, knowledge that corruption actions are being investigated can contribute to restoring public confidence. In her presentation to the Joint Select Committee of Parliament on Wednesday, July 6, JAMP's Executive Director, Jeanette Calder, indicated that despite the credible inroads made in the formation of a single anti-corruption agency, there are gaps that have led to the disbanding of access to our government's online contract award database and the blockage of public access to information on parliamentarians being prosecuted under this anti-corruption legislation. This weakens the effort and investment made to fight corruption, she noted. The gag clause prohibits the IC from informing the public about the initial or conduct of an investigation under the Act. The Advocacy Network outlined that with taxpayers projected to fork out some $1.15 billion to support the work of the Integrity Commission this year, public confidence is needed, not only to ensure the government officials act with integrity, but also to ensure that the IC is doing its job in investigating suspected acts of corruption. On Sunday, the IC piled on pressure on the nation's parliamentarians to remove the gag or muzzle clause in the Integrity Commission Act, which prevents the IC from commenting publicly on ongoing investigations involving public officials. Labeling the retention of the clause ridiculous, the IC says the latter is inimical to the public interest and the public good. Accusations of family torture as 88-year-old woman dies in hospital. An 88-year-old woman who was reportedly tortured and beaten by a relative died 8 years after she was admitted to the Spanish Town Hospital in a coma. Mrs. Lynch was taken to the St. Catherine Base Hospital on Friday, July 1, with evidence of burn marks on her torso and shoulder. There was also a slash to her right ear, her eyelids here, and her mouth had blood stain, says her daughter Novlet Evans. Senior Superintendent Christopher Phillips, who heads the St. Catherine South Division, said a postmortem has been ordered as investigators try to conclude whether foul play is suspected in the elderly woman's death. Obviously, the people under whose care she was with will be investigated, Phillips said in a response to queries from reporters. Evans said she was forced to flee the home of relatives on Monday, June 27, leaving behind her mom, who was incapacitated. A Canadian resident, Evans said she returned to Jamaica in January to help find a place for her mom who had broken a hip, but the Portmore home promised to her because she entangled in the court as the tenants they refused to move. Claiming to have been hounded out of the house, Evans said she left without even packing her bags. Her wheelchair-mobilized mother was left behind. 5 days later, she received a call from the wife of her relative advising that her mother was in the hospital and that she should hurry there before she passed away. When I went to the hospital, she had burn marks on her left buttocks and shoulder, and her right foot was slapped, she told reporters. Her right hand seemed broken. I lifted it up and it just dropped back down, said Evans. She is convinced that a hot iron and other implements were used to torture her mother. My mother was badly dehydrated. She seems to have been starved for the entire week, Evans said. By the time she reached the hospital, she had fallen into a coma, said Evans, unable to hold back the tears. Evans said she made a report to the Bridgeport police station the night her mother was admitted to the hospital, but it took the police 2 days to bring in the accused relatives for questioning. After both were interrogated, they were released by the police, she said. Evans is demanding justice for her mother. Caring for prisoners a national good, suggests DPP and corrections officials. Caring for prisoners in correctional facilities is not a waste of taxpayers' money, but instead a national good, as put by Jamaica's Director of Public Prosecutions DPP Paula Llewellyn and Joyce Stone, Deputy Commissioner of Corrections at the Department of Correctional Services DCS. Both women spoke with reporters after presenting at a symposium on prison reform hosted by Improved Access to Justice in the Caribbean Impact from July 5 to 6 at the St. Kitts Marsh Resort in Bastille. Paula Llewellyn lamented that there isn't any good effort by political representatives to change what Jamaicans already think of prisoners. You cannot relegate them to the scrap heap of society. Them being incarcerated is them paying their debt to society. They should be able to reintegrate into society. You cannot wield great power without understanding the humanity of the very person that you're going to be seeking to get a conviction for. Lublin said the public should understand that but argue that there's an elephant in the room. It's a political issue. The people are going to say, why are you taking up taxpayers' money to give criminal? When we need it for education, we need it for this, we need it to fix roads. That's what they are going to say. And how many of us have politicians in our country who are prepared to face down to the people and risk their political capital? There's no energy for the people to do it, but then, on the other hand, they have to educate the people to show why it is that for the soul of the country, it really should be done. In addition, Stone told the whole purpose of rehabilitating inmates and prison reform is about public safety. I think that many times we miss the point. How much are we prepared for our own safety? Most, if not all of the inmates will return to society soon, and if they are not reformed, then there is no more safer than we are. So I think that it is a point to push. It is all about public safety, our safety, the safety of our children and the generations to come, she said, noting that as it relates to prison reform locally, there is special attention on human capital development for both staff and inmates, improvement of infrastructure, policy reform for amendments to the Corrections Act, and integration of technology for more accountability within prisons. The inmates will be back into society. They will be your neighbors. They will be your church brothers and church sisters. They will be the bus drivers. We have to remain hopeful. We can never ever give up. As prison practitioners, our hearts have to be in it, she told reporters. To that, Lowen interjected, but it will have to be sold to the public. The allegation almost become fact. It's hard times for persons not to buy into what the average man on the street will feel and listen. These people have killed people, and these people are now in the scrap heap of humanity. Why should we take taxpayers' dollars and feed them? Yes, we have to feed them, but we don't have to make it like a hotel, Llewellyn said. Dr. Janelle Matthews, lecturer in law at the University of the West Indies UWI, Cayfield campus agreed, saying the colonial era of the prison is still operating in the region. Matthews said not only in the physical structure of the facilities, but also in the way that we speak about criminal justice. It's the language that we use, the processes, and the day-to-day functioning of the criminal justice system. Meanwhile, Stone told reporters that poor condition for inmates will also produce a poor condition for correctional staff. In terms of health and nutrition, inmates are fed 3 meals daily. This is one of the biggest challenges. The inmates complain about meals a lot. We have a medical unit, and we have doctors assigned to every institution every day, and external medical care is done at hospitals and clinics mostly. Financial support is also given to inmates. It's really not to boast about. It is in the form of rehabilitation, grant to operate a small business. The condition is that the inmate must serve at least 1 year of their sentence, and towards the end of the sentence, or when the inmate is released, the inmate must have a viable project which is reviewed by the commission and care office workers along with them to make sure that it can be viable to some extent, she explained. They are given a grant of $50,000 to start the business, and it is supervised at least for a year by the probation aftercare officer. If we treat prisoners as animals, we cannot expect them, once they have served their time, to behave as saints. Probably, they will behave as they have been treated. Of course, it doesn't mean that they should be treated softly, but they have to be treated correctly as responsible persons, because they will be then when they leave the prison, he said, noting that correctional facilities should offer prisoners education, vocational training, and work to prepare them for the life after prison. Prison, she continued, is about reforming offenders and make it less likely that they will commit further criminal acts when released, punishment for those who have committed serious crimes, to encourage the personal reform of those who are incarcerated, and to protect the public from those who are sent to prison. I have come to accept that all persons can be rehabilitated, but not all will avail themselves to rehabilitation. Please remember to subscribe, like, share, and click the notification bell for daily updates.